The Combot Collective is back with part 2 of the TCC 100. And if you missed part 1, I'd be sure to check it out so you can get the full picture to hear number 100 to number 66 of the 100 best heavyweight combat robots of 2023. Yes, that is what we're ranking here. You're here for the top 100 best robot combat competitors of 2023 in the heavyweight class. We had some big names in that video already, from King Crab, the robot formerly known as Defender sitting in the doldrums, to Implosion's impressive debut year, to Tectonic and multi-time RoboGames champion Original Sin's fairly disappointing years as known quantity veterans. We're now in the real meat of the TCC 100 list though. We're taking a look at number 65 and number 33 here on the road to seeing the 32 best robots in the world today in part 3. We're going to get a look at some mainline TV Battlebots competitors and some high-tier robots in the UK and Russia right here on the Combot Collective, bringing everything you want to know in the heavyweight class today specifically. And once again, before we jump into part 2 of this list, here's another reminder of how the TCC ranking and point system works. If you want to take a full look at it and a full look at the rankings from number 1 to 211, you can look at the document below or check out the graphic here for the rules. To counteract the volume of sportsmen/non-full combat events in the heavyweight class, the fights in this class are put around half value. Full combat KOs are worth 8 points. Judges full combat wins are worth 6. Sportsman KOs are worth 4 points. Judges wins in the sportsman class are worth 2. In the rare case we don't have a result for a fight or no footage or info of a decision, that robot is awarded 3 points. Inverse if you lose. Points awarded are now points lost. You will get negative points instead. Very hard to move this list. Only 1/3 of the robots in this list are in the positives. But here we go. We got some big names off the bat in the second part of our TCC 100. Let's get right down to the core, but I forgot to say it in our last part of the TCC 100. If you like what you're doing here on the Combot Collective, please leave a comment, a like, and subscribe to the TCC YouTube channel, and follow our Instagram page, our Facebook page for Robot Combat News. Join the Discord server to mingle with Robot Combat builders and fans alike from all around the world and hear about any TCC upload first. But now, back to the TCC list. TCC 100, let's find out who's surging for 2024.
Welcome to the Combot Collective.
We're kicking off part 2 of the TCC 100 strong with 3 big names from 3 different nations and 3 different events. But much like the first part of our 100, we start off with Russia for the recently concluded Battle of Robots event. And no better robot to discuss here when discussing robot combat in Russia than arguably the face of it, Team Big Brother's Weber. Team Big Brother have been in the forefront of the Russian scene since it was birthed in 2016 with that November's Bromebot event and have not looked back since. The team's signature flipper robot has competed in Scotland, China, and of course Russia, where it returned to action after a hiatus to be easily the top seed of Battle of Robots when you ask some fans, making its way through the qualifiers with the greatest of ease when it ran into a brick wall with Wayside 23. Weber held its own against the Cobalt-esque spinner, but with just seconds left, it did end up getting knocked out by Wayside. Great driving as always for the flipper, but its durability is now in question in this new era of the sport. Likely it's going to be what Team Big Brother will improve next. But now for number 64, how about the oldest robot in the sport today, regardless of weight class? It can only be one robot, and that would be the legendary Team Make Robotics machine, Behemoth, who had a bit of a resurgence at Robots Live events this year. Behemoth skipped 2022 after a very unfortunate 2021 that ended in an issue-laden Saudi Arabian Championship run, but it returned at Robots Live 2023's kickoff at Crawley's K2 Center, where shockingly enough, it went all the way to the finals. In what was its best performance since Robot Wars Series 10, Behemoth knocked out the likes of Hunterbird, Nuts, Apocalypse, amongst others before finally being thrown out of the arena by Iron 6 in the championship fight. Its Robots Live Stoke performance wasn't so inspiring, going 0-1 after a hard-fought round 1 knockout loss, but Crawley was enough to propel Behemoth to a 3-2 record with 4 points, enough for number 64 on our TCC 100 list. But now, finally, at number 63, we have a robot which competed in the regular season of Battlebots World Championship 7 with Victor Soto's top-tier undercutter Rotator. Rotator sits well above some of its fellow BattleBots veterans such as Scorpius, Beta, and Free Shipping with this ranking after putting together a 4-4 record with all of its victories coming by way of knockout. Rotator started its year by dealing with numerous receiver gremlins while taking on robots such as Hydra, Jackpot, and Bloodsport, and this ended up giving Team Revolution quite the tough draw in round 1 of the playoffs where it faced eventual semi-finalist Copperhead. Copperhead would eliminate Rotator, sending it off to the Sin City Slugfest where Rotator again went 500 with 1 win over Terratops and 1 loss against Valkyrie in what was one of the best battles this year. Go back and watch it if you haven't yet somehow. Next up at number 62, we have Ignition. And you know, funny how it works, Team Invade showed up with 3 heavyweights in 2023, and all 3 have placed in different videos on our TCC 100 countdown. We saw the team's newest robot, Implosion, at number 74, and now 12 spots down, we have the team's newest flipper, the 2018 debutee Ignition. Ignition was originally built to challenge robots in the spinner class, but this year Ignition decided to focus on the sportsman level combat instead, and quite frankly excelled here, putting together a 12-10 record with 9 of those losses coming by way of judge decision, proving that this front hinge flipper is very hard to kill. Ignition ended up capping its year off as the Extreme Robots Heavyweight Champion, a solid campaign for a number 62 robot. We stay in the UK with a robot that, despite being considered semi-active, remains the highest ranked horizontal crusher on our list and the second highest ranked crusher period, albeit there is not much competition. It's Team Roaming Robots Can Opener. Can Opener spends most of its career as a VIP robot for fans to drive during Extreme Robots pre-show experience, but at RoboRiots and even at a couple of Extreme Robots events this year, the Annihilator Ace found itself in some genuine competitive combat. Overall, Can Opener managed to pick up 3 wins and 1 loss, with its sole defeat somehow coming against the wider 2-headed Deathflamingo, bringing it to a shocking 6 points, yes, 6 points on our TCC rankings this year. And our last robot in the 60s is our sole Turkish representative on the TCC overall rankings, a robot with a serious bounce-back team in Mersus Robotics, Lonely Wolf. Mersus Robotics has been on the wrong side of heavyweight history in recent memory, from Mad Mustache getting obliterated in TIFR 2018 to Mersus underwhelming at Bitva 2019. But at Battle of Robots 2023, an event first revealed to the general public by Team Mersus, this team bounced back big with its new robot Lonely Wolf, a traditional 2-wheel drive drum which may have not been perfect, dealing with some gremlins in its battles, but it did do enough to take out Diamond Warrior and BRP 23, advancing it into the December finals. Lonely Wolf finished 2023 with a 2-1 record, boasting a proud 6-point total. But now, coming in to kick off the 50s at 59 is a friend of the Combot Collective and a big ambassador for the rankings, Jasper. This former Battlebots was sold to a Scottish team in 2020 but did not re-debut until 2022, where Jasper had an impressive RoboRiots, allowing the robot to place number 28 on our ranking list that year. The team then said for 2023 they were going to gun for top 20, but with the rise of competition and the rise of robots competing, for going from 141 in 2022 to 211 in 2023, the robot struggled to reach that peak despite putting together another respectable performance at RoboRiot in Dublin. It did have some solid victories, but also a few losses, putting it into the middle of the field. But at number 57, hey, you guys still made the top 100. I'm very excited to see where you guys are going to try finishing next year. Coming in at number 58, much like Volt, is shockingly not Bite Force, but instead the Russian robot Honey Badger, your traditional 4-wheel drive vertical spinner which packed some serious power and showed some veteran experience despite being from a rookie team. Honey Badger started off its run to the Russian title by quickly knocking out the Russian Vert 38th, then put on a barn burner versus eventual finalist Hypericum in a victory that threw parts into the ceiling. Honey Badger then showed more veteran presence by showing up to the finals with 2 fully prepared Honey Badgers, but they would only need 1 after a quick elimination in the round of 16 by eventual champion Iron Scrap. But now, at number 57, back to the UK again, we have Toxic 2, the former FRH UK champion and low-key one of the best flippers in the country, who once again skipped out on Extreme Robots to put its focus solely into Robots Live Stops this year. And once again, it made an impact, going all the way to the Crawley semifinals. Toxic 2 bullied its way through its round 1 and round 2 of the Crawley Championship by throwing out robots like Nuts and Mega Mouse, but tragedy struck in the semifinals when the entire robot seemingly broke down against rival veteran flipper Ironaut 8. Toxic 2 then dispatched of Apocalypse in seconds during the third place playoff, leaving it with a record of 3-1 for the year after just one event. But now we go back to the big one, robots fighting for the giant nut, and in a year of success for so many DFW teams, Switchback was right there with all of them, as Rev Robotics earned their first playoff berth ever in Battlebots World Championship 7 after a very impressive 3-1 season where Switchback beat the likes of robots such as Ominous and Hijinks while only being thwarted by proven names in Deadroll and Malice. The thing that really knocked Switchback down, though, was his knockout loss against Shred-It Bro in the second round of the Golden Bolt bracket. This loss knocked Switchback from a potential 8 points down to just 6 points, which in such a crowded point margin here, from the 6-point robots to the 8-point robots, could decide up to 10 positions. Rev Robotics looks well prepared, though, for whatever event comes in 2024, whether it be Battlebots or Proving Grounds. And, you know, coming from here, we look forward big time to seeing Dallas-Fort Worth be represented well once again. Go Switchback. But now from my favorite in Switchback in 56, at 55 we now go to Porinog's favorite in Ribot. Now 2022 was a breakout year for Ribot. It grabbed the playoff number 2 seed, it grabbed a Golden Bolt final slot, and it did all this in 1 year, placing number 8 on last year's rankings. But things would not be so easy this time around. After a rough 1-3 season, Ribot entered the World Championship 7 playoff brackets at a number 28 seed this time, but WPI's Killer Frog then went on an absolute tear, picking up 3 straight W's over Quantum, Black Dragon, and in some big-time revenge, Hydra, all by KO. This placed Ribot into the semifinals where it met Sawblaze for its final fight of the year, a loss-budgeted decision which put Ribot at 4 wins, 4 losses, all of which by knockout, to give it 6 points in total on the year. But now at 54, we have our first event winner on the list, with the now 2-time Irish champion Immersion, who last October took home the RoboRiots title in Dublin. Immersion, the predecessor to robots such as Ember and Abrasion, and the 250-pound younger brother of Amnesia, arguably the best featherweight of all time, impressed in 2019 when it last won at RoboRiots, but since then at post-COVID Extreme Robots and RoboRiots at events, the machine struggled to match that level, even struggling at Extreme Robots events earlier this year. At RoboRiots 2023, though, we'd see Immersion sweep through Ripper, King Buxton, Beast, and then Ripper again in the finals to take home the Irish crown. Surely a good point towards Abrasion maybe finally getting that deserved trip to Las Vegas like it had in 2020. I would love to see it. We need a front hinge robot in Battlebots big time, I think. But now, time for another block of Russian machines, 4 in fact, all of which that made it to the December finals at Battle of Robots to end our 50s territory. And first, we have arguably the lowest esteemed of the 16 finalists entering that event with RH-Bot, a robot which only made it into the finals after a very controversial judge decision victory over Matanga in the second round of the B qualifier. But despite the lackluster qualifier performance, the new team showed they were serious, with RH-Bot's drive and weapon looking much better during its December battle versus Barracuda. But this time, RH-Bot would be the victim of a heinous decision, as despite dominating most of the fight and even busting Barracuda's CO2 tank late into the battle, RH-Bot would be eliminated. But now at 52, from one December finals underdog, we go to another with the Dads and Geese, Team Istock Robotics with their new robot Redhorn, who is the highest ranking tracked robot on our TCC 100 and just overall TCC 2023 rankings. Redhorn, despite its slow start versus Buck in round 1 of Battle of Robots, ended up leaving the event as the highest ranking robot after also knocking out Pneumokraken in round 2. The spinner looked great, the robot looked the part, but in the end of the day, if you're running big exposed tracks, you're going to suffer, and that is exactly what the Ronin-style robot learned versus Hypericum in round 1 of the December finals, as the horizontal spinner was at the perfect height to rip apart Redhorn's weapon and treads. Istock Robotics is a veteran squad, though, and a very creative squad at that. I'm interested to see what wild track design is next for them. At number 51, fittingly enough, we got a robot which looks a lot like a UFO in Turbo Masha, the sparring partner for Honey Badger during training, and one of the most powerful horizontal spinners Russia has to offer. Far from perfect, this robot dealt with its fair share of gremlins and mauler dances when going 2-0 over Rock 4 and Volt in the qualifiers before being halted by the Indian Vert Danaji in round 1 of the December finals. 2024 will be interesting for Turbo Masha. The team has been talking to the Robotic Death Company to make the robot better, and we saw a little bit of that improvement during its recent Super Final appearance where it had an electric battle versus Daddy. Certainly seek that fight out. Finally, at number 50, the halfway point of our TCC 100 rankings, we have a Team Weber robot, but of course not the signature robot, and certainly not Volge, who completely missed the list. Shockingly, between the team's 3 heavyweight robots at Battle of Robots, the one we knew nothing about, Kolobaka, the Killer Bus, ended up being the highest ranking of the trio. As stated with a nickname, this robot had an odd design with its elongated body, but its unique proportions led to a solid qualifier run with victories over both Red Melnick and Red Triangle, a true red menace here. Kolobaka did meet its match in Atom during the first round of the December finals though, but since this robot is from Team Big Brother, I think we're far from done with this machine. Would not be surprised to see a new design for 2024. And now, starting at the fiery 40s, we have the greatest robot of all time, Bronco. Now you may be asking, Sterling, you bastard, why is Bronco in this ranking? This robot has not entered a battle box competitively in almost 4 years. Well, that's where you're technically wrong. When the news broke that Bronco would be joining the Battlebots Destruct-A-Thon roster, we'd see a few days later to add its Battlebots Destruct-A-Thon debut, the one and only Reason Bradley and Alexander Rose will be piloting the robot. This meant by TCC ruling that this battle had both robots, Bronco and Overkill's main drivers that year present behind the wheel, no substitutions, no goofy drivers, so its first match against Overkill was legal for the rankings, and it was a nostalgic out of the arena, which meant Bronco had 8 points on our overall rankings. Complain about it if you want. I will accept this is a little bit for me too. It doesn't affect the big picture too much. I'm just glad Bronco got to have one more genuine fight. We see it here. Makes me happy, warms my heart. Next up though, back to robots that were definitely active at number 48, somehow ranking higher than all of the other Team Shock and Team Quake robots we saw in the first part of our rankings videos. It's the team's newest robot, Poseidon. Early this year, the team bought retired Brit Flipper Ace, and after a little bit of repainting and reworking, from the quaking depths came Poseidon. This robot didn't start off swimmingly, as all Brit Flippers do. There was some weapon pressure and drive issues early on, a few failed self-rights, and a few out of the arenas, of course. But this robot quickly figured its way through Extreme Robot's pre-event Fight Club melees and tag battles to give itself a 6-4 record in its debut year with 3 knockouts, enough to collect 8 points. A solid first-time performance for Poseidon. And now, our next 3 positions, we have some real big-time weapon power. And at number 47, we have maybe the most unexpectedly destructive robot in all of Battle of Robots and all of Russia. So dangerous, in fact, that it may be a little too much for its nation's arenas. There may be some discussions there. It's the wildly named Daddy. This insane drumbot, with shades of the legendary 12-pound Chigger, has absolutely wrecked every opponent it faced aside from Godspeed, with Daddy obliterating Barracuda, Rhinoceros, Golden Fury, and even the arena wall in its Battle of Robot qualifiers before being shocked upset by Godspeed quickly in the December finals. Despite the sad end for this robot, it has already been the talk of numerous fans amongst the sport and quickly has become one of the most desired robots in the Battlebots World Championship 8 field. And on top of that, Daddy has already done even more this year. Stay tuned for 2024 ranking updates on that. Don't think they're going to be placing number 47 or even close to that level next year. It's going to be up high, maybe even top 10. We're just going to have to wait and see. But now back to proving grounds with another promising prospect for World Championship 8, one that's already on the short list according to Battlebots co-founder Greg Munson. It's Team BNS Robotics' newest project, Fireball. Now, if you follow NHRL, you've seen Fireball in the past as a 3-pounder ran by Brian Boxall, but with very minimal success. something that's fortunately not been the case for the 250-pound version of Fireball, which is everything the 3-pound version has, from the internal flywheel to the orange livery, but now also boasting a flamethrower and an even deadlier spinner on top of it. Fireball impressed in its Proving Grounds debut with a statement knockout over Seems Reasonable's own new robot, the Twins, and with its other Proving Grounds battle being versus a showbot, Fireball sits at 1-0 in our rankings, with likely a lot more to come in 2024. But now at number 45, here's an interesting case with the Brazilian undercutter Shogun. This has been a robot we've heard quite a bit from over the last year. In 2023, this robot attempted to show up for a RoboGames championship, but like many other robots, failed to last minute. Though in 2022, during Battlebots WC7, it seemed that this team just sort of showed up like many other robots in the past have, such as Yeti and Mad Catter. Shogun was not so lucky to get into the regular season like those two robots though, but after what it did to Doom in its only fight at the competition, I'm sure the other teams were not too upset to see that this robot missed the field. Shogun dominated Doom in what was the debut fight for both of these robots, winning in 1 minute and 12 seconds by way of knockout, giving it 8 points for the sole fight this year. Brazil only seems to make good robots. I'm really excited to see what this machine can do in the future. And speaking of RoboGames, at number 44, it is the People's Champion, the Whoop-Ass Warrior, one of the greatest stories of the entire 2023 season. We have Hexy-D, Hexadecimator, coming back from Team Whoop-Ass. After numerous failed comeback attempts with little to no success, the legendary American flipper that once upon a time was a multiple Battlebots semi-finalist in the heavyweight class had once again put together a run to be remembered for. At RoboGames 2024, the surprise entry kicked off its tournament run with, get this, 3 straight knockouts against Puck, Doom, and Manta. Yes, that Manta, with 2 of those robots getting set ablaze by the time the fight was called. Hexadecimator did drop its next 2 fights against Malice and Lucky in some exciting matches, but the memories were made already at that point, and as it stands today, Hexadecimator is still the only robot to have a knockout over Manta, who seems to be primed to be the next best robot in the world. Isn't this sport crazy? Hexadecimator, the OG GOAT, comes in at number 44. Alright, that's enough simping over Hexy-D. Coming over number 43 is not a Battlebots OG, but a Battlebots mainstay of the Discovery era with Valkyrie, which this year was owned by Leanne Cushing, but driven and captained by a new face of the team, former G3 Robotics member and NHRL regular Lucy Dew, who led a new-look Team Valkyrie which retained only 1 member from the season prior. And despite so many drastic changes to both the robot and the team for World Championship 7, Team Valkyrie held their own and only got better throughout the entire tournament, as it only went 2-2 in the World Championship 7 regular season, missing the playoffs, but its star would really shine during the Sin City Slugfest, where it made the Heat Finals of Bracket 1, defeating Ominous and Rotator before succumbing to its NHRL rival in Shred It Bro. But now, at the all-powerful number of 42, we have only our second event winner on the TCC 100, and the first and only member of the Iron Awe family to break into the top 100. It's Iron Awe 8. That's right, the much more acclaimed members of the Iron Awe family, Iron Awe 5 and 6, had fairly down years, with both struggling massively at Extreme Robots, leading to positionings near the 200 position. But Iron Awe 8, armed with a low-pressure flipper, a little bit different compared to its siblings, ended up proving that slow and steady could win the race. The robot that really broke out in 2022 continued to hold its own versus stiff competition at Extreme Robots, appearing in multiple gladiator melees, but what really set it above the rest was its victory at Robots Live Crawley 2023. It defeated the aforementioned flippers of Toxic Tomb in the semis and Behemoth in the finals to finish the event at 4-0 with a few knockouts under its belt, enough to make it the only robot with 9 points in our standings. And now, at number 41, we have a robot which shockingly did not make that much of an impact at RoboGames, despite it being a return for it. It is Forrest Ye's Raging Scotsman. It was the same 4-wheel drive power wedge we all knew and love, with a purple body, kilts, and flamethrower, but much like Original Sin, the new level of competition coming from Battlebots ended up being a little too much for it. It started off strong enough, picking up victories over robots like Swamp Thing, Original Sin, and Chaos 3, But much like Hexadecimator, the Battlebots stars like Malcatter and Malice would unseat it from a better spot. Only 2-2 this year. And speaking of big Battlebots names, we take it back to the Battle Box with number 40, David Small's newest creation, Banshee. This rookie robot completed the Battlebots trifecta this year, appearing at World Championship 7, the Sin City Slugfest, and Battlebots Proving Grounds, where collectively between the 3 events it amassed a 6-4 record with 10 total points. Not bad for the upstart flipper. But that being said, a lot of its points were collected at Battlebots Proving Grounds, where it went 4-0 with all of its wins coming over some underwhelming old school robots in Overkill and Maximum Paralysis. Outside of the Proving Ground rounds, Banshee managed to go a very whelming 2-4 with victories only over Horizon and Valkyrie. Team seems to be serious about this robot though. They have success in the past with flippers with Kelpie. Fascinated to see where 2024 takes it. But now at number 39, what rhymes with Banshee? It's 30s time, and we take you here with the best robot to fight exclusively for Robots Live this year, the once King of Bots finalist, Tanchi. This robot, like Toxic 2 and Behemoth, only appeared at Robots Live this year. All 2 of its events and its new owners, Team Mad, made sure they got the most of it inside the arena. Collectively, the slick white Brit Flipper would put together a 4-1 record, amassing 10 points after an exhibition win in Crawley and then a run to the finals during Stoke-on-Trent, where only Eruption would be able to stop Tanche after an absolute barn burner flipper frenzy in the finals. Tanche has now been to championship finals in England, China, and Saudi Arabia, but it has still yet to pick up the big one. So now at number 38, it's pretty clear we're really starting to enter big boy territory with this next robot. Coming from the esteemed Brazilian squad Uriah is of course the robot which is just one fight away from history last year, Black Dragon. Brazilian robots are more often than not designed for survivability, and no robot had proved that better than Black Dragon, especially after its infamous 2020 battle versus Robot, where it spent the entire fight on fire. And after 3 straight strong outings versus BritBots Monsoon, Quantum, and Beta in World Championship 7, it was only one fight away from tying Byte Force's Battlebots record for most consecutive fights without being knocked out. But sadly, Riptide would bring a stop to that, just one fight away from history. Black Dragon still made it to the playoffs regardless, but in the round of 16, it would get knocked out again, this time by Ribot. Black Dragon then went 2-1 at Champions, making it to the Heat finals of its Slugfest bracket, which meant the Compact Killer did finish the year at 5-4, winning record, racking up 10 points for its number 38 campaign. And now, next up at 37, while I do strongly defend the TCC overall rankings logic and its results, mainly because it is my baby, I do confess it's not perfect. Usually there's at least 1 to 3 robots which defy the list logic and manage a much better spot than it probably deserves. And that's exactly what we got with the return of Conquering Clown, who after 2 awkward wins over Warthog found itself placed at number 37, undefeated with 12 points. Conquering Clown is a beloved robot from a storied team, one which had not fought with this machine since the year of 2003, and unlike some OGs of the sport returning like Hexadecimator, time was not so kind to the Clown. Its drive barely worked, and its weapon was literally non-existent during its second battle versus Warthog. But thankfully for it, Warthog could barely work at all. Numerous old heads of robot combat, myself included, really wanted Conquering Clown to go 2-0, so it had a serious chance to be an alternate for World Championship 8. But with slots being so exclusive more and more each year, I really doubt Craig Roski and Greg Munster are going to be clowning around here. Conquering Clown may need to do more work if it wants to get back into the limelight. But now back to Russia's December finalists from Battle of Robots for 36, and back to some really well-working weapons as we next discuss Atom, a robot which we've already brought up quite a few times in passing during this countdown. Atom is a true Russian veteran, having appeared in various forms since 2017, but no form was as serious and as competitive as its 2023 version, as Team Atom took from how numerous aforementioned Brazilian teams built their robot and went with a compact 2-wheel drive drumbot as their new version. And this new look Atom managed to get an easy win over Businator in round 1, and then a hard-fought judges decision victory over Sarkel in round 2, and then another judges decision over Kolobaka before being outdone by China's own top drumbot Iron Scrap in the Elite 8. Adam already has one event under its belt for 2024, looking to continue as a mainstay in the sport, especially in its home nation of Russia. But now from Moscow, we head to Seattle with arguably one of the most successful teams in all of 2023, Team Bad Ideas. This squad dominated the small bot scene with their array of control bots, appearing at both the RCL and NHRL finals last year. But we're here to talk about the team's ace, Claw Viper, who after 3 seasons finally had a dominant breakout year, much thanks to Captain Kevin Molcheski finally managing to dial in that weapon and drive. Claw Viper absolutely embarrassed Ominous, fellow control bot Overhaul, and even eventual semifinalist Ribot in its regular season run that added one more win over Shatter before suffering losses in both round 1 of the playoffs and round 2 of the Golden Bolt bracket. We saw some serious potential with Claw Viper in the 2021 Robot Ruckus event, and that potential was realized big time this year. Can't wait for next year. But now to end this video, we go back to Russia one more time for number 34, as now we're really getting to the nitty-gritty with our Battle of Robots competitors. Due up in this slot, from the ladies that once brought you Rainbow, it's Barracuda. This purple and pink low-pressure Brit Flipper already had quite the track record before even appearing at Battle of Robots, having competed at Bit for Robotov and Clash Bots in the past. But this was by far its best performance yet, with the robot going all the way to the Final Four of Battle of Robots, albeit with quite a bit of controversy. After handily putting away Ural Hero, Barracuda then picked up 3 straight questionable judges' decisions against Nutel, RHBot, and Denaji in that order, as the robot then limped its way into a back-and-forth semifinal battle versus Godspeed, which it eventually lost, followed by another brutal defeat against Wayside 23. That wrapped up Barracuda's year, giving it a 3-2 record and a 4th place finish at Battle of Robots 2023. The ladies have a lot to be proud of here. And finally at 33, closing out the second part of this 3-part countdown, we have another robot which appeared at all 3 big Battlebot shows over the last year in Gigabyte. Now, as everyone knows, including team captain Derek Tran, the Combot Collective has been very critical of the new team behind the legendary robots, and with good reason. This was a machine that sat at the near top of the sport in 2020, and just 2 years later, we were watching this robot drive into the arena wall versus free shipping. It was ultimately a disappointing World Championship 7 for Gigabyte, finishing at 1-3, but you gotta give the team credit. I mean, seriously. They were determined to improve this robot, and they certainly did over the year, going 2-1 at Sin City Slugfest, only losing the free shipping again in a much more competitive battle. And then at Proving Grounds this year, it picked up 2 more wins versus Doom and Jackpot. This collectively brought Gigabyte to 5 wins and 4 losses throughout the year, bringing it to a respectable number 33 spot as we finish up part 2 of the TCC 100, and that wraps it up. Legendary names here: Hexadecimator, Gigabyte, Rotator, Behemoth, Weber. Plenty of future big names there as well. Some really exciting robots. Like I said, really the meat of the TCC 100. You certainly recognize some big names here. And hopefully with robots like Daddy, you maybe found some robots you never heard of that you're going to fall in love with. I really hope so. But there we go. That wraps up our second part of the TCC 100. Stay tuned for next time where we go from number 32 to number 25 to number 20 to 15 to 16 to 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Plenty of champions, plenty of big names, plenty of destructive robots. A lot to look forward to in the third and final part of the TCC 100. Stay tuned for that. As always, here on the Combot Collective, we're wrapping it up now. Please check out the channel. Please check it out in full. Subscribe to the page, like the video, leave a comment giving us your thoughts on number 100 to number 33, and check out the social media. We will have plenty of graphics out on the TCC 100 countdown as the lists go on and after them. As we start moving into the 3rd year of the TCC rankings for 2024, we look forward to that. Stay tuned for that. Join the Discord server as well. Of course, we'll be discussing the rankings there as well. But for now, we'll see you next time with the Combot Collective. I'm Sterling Ross, getting ready for part 3. Super stoked. Hope to see you there.
This was the Combot Collective. Find us on Instagram and Discord.